Hi, and welcome to Zocio Convos. We continue the conversation on cybersecurity, cyber law, cyberbullying, cyber abuse. In the first part of the video series, we dealt with the do's and don'ts that children need to follow in the cyberspace. Again, we are joined by Sangameshwaran, International Cyber Security Specialist, today to speak on cyber laws, existing cyber laws, cyberbullying, and what is the response mechanism that one need to follow when there is an attack against you. Welcome again, Sangam. Welcome to the show, Cyber Convos.
Thank you, Aparna. Hello to all.
So let us pick up from where we left last time in the first part of the video, where we spoke or gave an introduction into cyber abuse and cyberbullying. I think at some point in time, we all are prone to cyber bullying attacks and in maybe different forms and variants and intensities. So, what are the forms of cyberbullying? And let me ask you, what is the psyche also behind such cyberbullying attacks?
Yeah, so let's continue from where we left off, like the cyberbullying. Because cyberbullying comes because of multiple reasons. One is it's a mental state, so that they want to inflict pain to others, or they want to create a problem with others' good image. So all these things adds to that, and to create the matter further worse, what is happening is like cyberspace is where anonymity is always prominent. That is because when you sign up for a specific account, whether it is a social media or an email and stuff like that, you don't need to provide any of your identification documents. So what you say is what is right kind of stuff. So this is a problem. So now, because of that, there are different ways and means in which the cyberbullying is happening. Now, there are different types of cyberbullying. So one of them like is outing. So outing, there are different ways. So outing, frapping, dissing, trolling, and trickery. So these are the five different major categories of cyberbullying which are prominent. So outing is like you are taking advantage of the public nature of the social media platforms and many websites, blogging sites or social media platforms, and post private, sensitive, or embarrassing information of individuals, which can tarnish their public image. So that is outing. And frapping is what is happening is that a cyberbully can easily impersonate a victim by going through publicly available information and then getting all those information by creating a duplicate account. And then they can send the friend requests to all their connections and then impersonate them. So that is impersonation. So frapping is impersonation by creating social media accounts, which looks exactly similar to the original account, and then send requests to the friends and common friends, and then post incriminating information like maybe some intimate pictures or some private information onto all that. Frapping is especially dangerous because once something is posted on about the victim's details, it is very difficult to go back and delete it. And then it is very difficult to control it because the news spreads, and online medium is like you post something now, it can reach to millions as well. So you have to be very careful with that. So frapping is that one. Dissing is an important and interesting category because cyberbullies can be friends with the victim. This is what I was mentioning in our last part of the video, where they could be your friends. You don't even know whether they have any separate email accounts or any separate social media accounts or any fake accounts which can be used for getting information on that. And what happens is that dissing happens when some of your friends or any of your friends post confidential information which only you and your friends might be knowing about you on social media sites or any other online media platforms. And this is also targeting at ruining the good reputation what the other person has. Trolling, you know that we have seen many different kinds of trolls. It starts like a fun, but it can get into serious problems with affecting the mental state of the person. Not all people might be able to take trolling in the positive spirit, so you have to be very careful with that. And trickery is another important cyberbullying. So trickery, what happens is that in trickery, the person gets close. So the perpetrator gets close to the victim pretending to be their friends and then try to gather information and stuff like that. So you have to be very careful about this trickery approach. Why? Because like as I mentioned, like when you are getting a friend request or a connection request on social media platform, we normally see, do we know this person? If we don't know that person, we try to see whether are there any common friends and try to reach out to any of the common friends and then check about this person. Hey, do you know he or she? And is this a real person or a fake account? And how do you know that person and all those things? But chances are that when you check with your friends also may not have good idea about who that real person is. So you have to be very careful when you're getting a friend request. And unless you are doubly sure that this is the person, it can also lead into this trickery, which I was mentioning, that it can get into the details, like they can get into the details because you will be posting information on social media, which is the audience would be your friends, right? So you have to be very careful with from whom you are accepting friend request as well. So you have to be very careful. So these are the different types of cyberbullying which I wanted to highlight, like outing, raping, and then trickery, trolling. So these are the different hissing. So all these things are different types of cyberbullying. Both adults as well as kids has to be aware of.
In such a scenario, now if I am a victim, now it can be a trolling, it can be an abuse, it can be a crime against me. What is that immediate step that I need to take, or how do I react to such a thing? Now, a lot of the times, what we hear or what we see is that when there is an attack against you, as a normal person who's not very aware of the cyber laws or the steps that need to be taken when you are attacked, the immediate reaction to it is that you delete your accounts. So, rather than that, what is the right methodology to be followed when you are faced with an attack?
Yeah, so there are two different aspects to that. Like I would handle the first thing, what you mentioned, like is deleting your social media accounts a solution for this? Definitely no. Why? Because as I mentioned in like previously on the 5 different types of cyberbullying which could happen. So cyberbullying could also be cyber harassment as well. So they go hand in hand with each other. So cyberbullying and cyber harassment are almost the same. So if you see this like dissing as well as trickery, what happens is that most of the times the perpetrator might be someone in your immediate circle or in your friend circle. So the chances of they knowing your new email account, they knowing about your new social media account will be on the higher side. So you will not be safe just by deleting, okay, I deleted all my social media, my real social media account, and I started another one. Then it's a problem. If you delete your if you delete your social media account once and for all, and you are not coming back to social media, yeah, then that's great. But the problem is, the same people can actually post information about you in different news groups or different groups, even if your ID is disabled or your ID is you have closed your account. So the best thing to do is that never retaliate for any of these kind of cyber attacks. Capture as much information as possible, what you have. And this includes like the chat transcripts. This includes any kind of post which that person has done. Always, it's a good habit to take a proper screenshot and keep it ready. And when you go to the next stage, so the next stage is you have to definitely go into a law enforcement. You have to create, you have to register a complaint in the nearest police station saying that there is a cyber harassment. So you need to file a complaint for that. Now there is also another option because Ministry of Home Affairs has set up a national cyber crime reporting website. I will mention that, so it will be mentioned below this video. Like when the correct time comes, it might come as a banner. Yeah, it might come as a banner. So what happens is that you can go to that website. It's an online platform which is released. So what is happening is like that website has been set up, and on the back end, this website has been linked with different cyber crime nodal officers. So you have the contact numbers of different state units and who is responsible. So for the case of, as an example, for Kerala, it is IG of police, Sri Srijit is responsible, and there is a escalation process on that. So there is a specific information given in that website. So I would highly encourage that you can report in that. And there is another option. There is another option within that website is you can report. So there are two options. So you can report a cybercrime against women and children, which will be definitely treated as a serious one, because that's why there is a separate section given in that. And then you can report either anonymously, or you can give your name and your contact details, and then they will send you a one-time password, and then you can track about what happened to the complaint, whether it has been handed over, what is happening. So this is a real good tool. So I would highly recommend that it is utilized.
All right. So, I mean, if you could also throw some light on the Indian cyber law and the existing ones, and what are the changes that it is likely to undergo. I think a lot of the people would know what to cite when you are actually filing a complaint too.
Yeah, exactly. So the Indian cyber law is based on the IT Act of 2000. So the IT Act of 2000 was implemented in June of 2000. So it had different sections, but the primary focus point of IT Act of 2000 was about securing the e-commerce transactions and then preventing cyber attacks against organizations or any kind of identity misuse, like the digital signature or e-signature, and just to make sure that the person who is signing the document is using the proper electronic signature option, and then cyber disputes or cyber arbitration between countries and stuff like that. So that was primarily focused on hacking and preventing the hacking attempts against all this critical infrastructure. Now, what happened is that in 2005 and 2006, they constituted a committee for giving recommendation. So there was an amendment which happened in 2008. So that was an IT Act amendment of 2008. And in 2011, there was further amendment into that, where critical information infrastructure was mentioned specifically on that as well. So, but the key thing to note is that, so there were different sections like section 65, section 66, and 67 and 67A. These are primarily dealing with hacking attempt using a computer resource or unauthorized access, tampering of information using computers and all those things. So they have clearly mentioned those details as part of that. Now, to keep in mind is that even though there was the amendment in 2011, there was nothing much which was added to safeguard common people. So what I mean by saying that safeguarding common people is that when IT Act 2000 was designed, drafted, there was no concept of social media and then social media platform, what all the kind of attacks or bullying which could happen either against women or women and children, and then men as well. So there was nothing mentioned. So we didn't think about that because there was no social media. So now what happened is that even though there were sections like section 66, 67 and 67A had 3 years and 5 years imprisonment with some fine of 5 to 10 lakhs as a penalty and stuff like that. But what happened in 2015 was that there was a judgment given by Supreme Court. What happened is that as part of that judgment, it was Shreya Singhal versus Union of India. So they cited Article 19(1)A, which was dealing with the right for freedom of right for expression. So citing that, 66A was dropped. So 66A had a clause where if you send objectionable material through electronic means of communication, there could be 3 years of imprisonment as part of that. So this was clearly mentioned, and they dropped that section. So if you see from 2011 to 2020, like 9 years, there was nothing much which was added on to the existing cyber law or on the basis of IT Act of 2000. So there is not much of information clearly mandated as part of the current cyber law.
So, in such scenario, if there is no amendment happening to the IT law or the cyber law, what is the next best precautionary measure that can be kind of met? I mean, I think either the state departments or state governments or organizations or decision makers can actually rely on. If not the IT Act, and if it does not go through an amendment, what is the next best practice that we can all follow?
Mm-hmm. All people have the same question, like if the IT Act of 2000 was last amended in 2011 and 9 years
2011.
nothing happened. Should we wait?
Yeah.
Should we wait for
Absolutely.
something to happen? So a straightforward answer to that is there might be changes coming from the union government where they would make some changes and amendments to the IT Act, the Basic IT Act. So it would change. But in the interim, it would be better, or when I speak with the different law enforcement agencies and different officers, some things which I captured is that the State Police Act for different states can be modified with specific information about cybercrime against women and children. So that would be specific. So anything specific should have a different kind of weightage. So that would be a good option, or that would be a positive way of moving forward till the IT Act of 2000 is amended and all these clauses are added as part of that. Otherwise, it will be pretty tough because we cannot wait for the IT Act to be amended because, like the central government thinks amendment takes time, right? So definitely
Absolutely.
the State Police Acts. Yeah, so the State Police Act can be modified or can be amended with all those things. The legal aspects, we may have to really look into it, like what can be changed and what all options could be provided and all those things. So it is definitely a positive way to move forward.
Okay. See, another thing, Sangam, I think now I have also been, a victim of cyber abuse. Now, there are times when we actually take a step back in reporting these crimes because of the time that it takes to kind of solve or get to some conclusive impression. So why is it taking so much of time when there is a cyber crime or a cyber abuse reported vis-a-vis a physical crime?
So on the physical crime, it's a no-brainer because we are seeing in news and we are seeing in movies. Like what you see in movies may not be 100% true as well, but still, we can see that a police officer is visiting a scene of crime and taking all those evidences. Yeah, so they visit the scene of crime and they take all this evidence into their custody and for due processing, right? So the forensic team comes there and do that. So in the cyberspace or the cyber crime also, there needs to be a cyber forensics which has to happen because we call it a chain of custody. Because if you see that a specific perpetrator is creating a problem to someone online and using a specific computer, that computer has to be seized with the information intact so that it is not modified. So in a chain of custody, it is unaltered so that the integrity of the evidence is not questioned at a later stage. So that is what happens from a cyber forensics perspective. Now, this takes time because you need to have specific set of tools for processing that information. And above all this, the resource has to be highly trained so that they are not altering the evidence when they are doing all these forensics and all those things. So in cyber forensics, we always make a true copy. A true copy is actually a copy of the hard disk itself. If you are doing the forensics of the hard disk itself and then try to do your testing and all your assessment on the copy. So the original is kept intact. Now, when you're doing online transactions as well, online transactions or social media, the other thing to keep in mind is, let's say a person X is complaining that a person Y is creating a problem for him online through Facebook. So now what happens is that he takes all the screenshots and all those things what person Y has posted against him, and then they submit a complaint with the cyber cell or the local police station. So the local police station would definitely get the cyber cell also involved. So you see that there is a process with that. So the process changes from different states. So I'm not going into the details, but so there is one processing which is happening. So there is one processing which is happening. Now what happens is that the cyber cell could also get in touch with the social media platform provider, which is Facebook, and try to get that who is this person, from where did they log in, and all those details. So Facebook, if there is a need and if there is a court order and all those things, if they are required to disclose that information, they would disclose that information to law enforcement. As per their legal agreements and all those things, they would disclose like who is the user and what is the IP address. Now you get the IP address. Now you have to go with the internet service provider or the ISP. In Indian case, it would be any of the service providers, and then get this information. This IP was assigned to which user? So they need to doubly sure and verify that this is the person to whom that IP was assigned by that ISP. Now, those things might take some time because you need a court order, you need a specific order, like you need that to be subpoenaed and all those things, right? So you need to get all those information in place. So it's not like if there is a physical crime, if someone hit you and then you go to the nearest police station and say that this person hit me, so the police officer might come with you and assess the situation and stuff like that. But in cyber crimes or cyber space, that may not be possible. So there might be some procedural delays between getting this information. So that could be one of the reasons why I lodge a complaint today and I need a resolution tomorrow. That may not happen. So let us be, so let us be realistic and practical there, because there will be time, because the recent incident which happened in Kerala, like all of us know that there was a complaint registered, but there was no action taken. But we never know whether the action was happening behind the scenes, but the resolution didn't happen in time. So it could be because of all these reasons.
So before we end, I think we should also know what are the possible deterrents and punishment pattern that one can go through if you commit a crime online. So Sangam, if you could just throw light on it before we end the show. A lot of the people will not feel tempted to commit a crime online.
Yeah, sure. Good that you pointed that, Aparna, because it definitely makes sense to highlight what is in store for people who are either committing cybercrime now and feeling that there is nothing much which can be done against us and we are free and they will not be able to trace us and find us out. We can be anonymous in cyberspace. You are wrong, because sooner or later, the law as well as the law enforcement would definitely be able to trace and come back like what you did, who you were and who you are, and they would be able to do all these things. So the other thing is, with all these amendments, like different state police act, as well as the IT Act also going through some possible amendments, there will be strict punishments for sure, because if you're committing a cybercrime and that is especially against women and children, it is going to have that impact. So the punishment is definitely going to be strict. That is for sure. There is no two ways or no doubts about that. Never do this kind of, so stay away from doing cybercrime, stay away from committing any kind of cyber bullying or cyber harassment especially against women and children. This law is going to catch up with you. So it may be delayed because of the procedures. It may be delayed because of the legal system and all those things. But one day you have to face the law, and then you have to receive the punishments given for those kind of offenses. So my message is, stay away from committing cyber crimes, stay away from cyber harassment, stay safe, be happy.
So what we need to kind of conclude here is that we all literally live in the cyberspace and cyber world. The best that we can do is to be safe, be informed, be educated about the do's and don'ts and about the possible threats that are looming in the cyberspace, and be very diligent and intelligent in the way we conduct ourselves online. So this has been a phenomenally informative session, Sangam. Thank you so much for your time. And I really hope this video, goes places and gives the right information to people, children, parents, and teachers on the do's and don'ts that they need to follow in the cyberspace. Thank you once again. So Socio Conversations will continue with another expert in another field. Stay tuned.
Yeah, thank you, Aparna, for this wonderful opportunity to discuss all these different aspects through Zocio Convo. Spread the message so that you are well informed.